Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, protesters throng premises of Koza churches in Lagos and Abuja, demanding the resignation of senior pastor Fatoyinbo over allegations of rape. 2 persons confirmed killed, with several others still missing in Lagos boat accident. Members of the business community task government on infrastructure and education as panacea for poverty. While U.S. President Donald Trump in North Korea to meet leader Kim Jong-un, becoming the first U.S. sitting president to do so. Hundreds of protesters today assembled at the Commonwealth of Zion Assembly in the Gusafe district of Abuja, the nation's capital, demanding the resignation of pastor of the church, Fatoyinbo, following allegations of rape and sexual misconduct. The protest comes after Mrs. Busola Dakolo, the wife of musician Timi Dakolo, recently granted an interview that went viral in which she accused Pastor Fatoyinbo of allegedly raping her 20 years ago at the age of 17. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
Security was tight at the Commonwealth Zion Assembly, Koza, in Abuja, as the faithful made their way to church, despite several allegations of rape against its lead pastor, Fatoyinbo. The most recent of the allegations is from Busola Dakolo, wife of prominent musician Timi Dakolo, who in a recent interview alleges that she was raped multiple times by the pastor many years ago. Pastor Fatoyinbo, on his part, vehemently denies the allegation, threatening legal action in a press release. He says the allegations are a smear campaign, as attempts at blackmailing him had failed. These protesters from the Church 2 movement, advocates against human rights violations, especially sexual abuse, marched towards Koza for what they say will be a peaceful, silent sit-out at the church premises. As they approach the premises, both protesters and journalists are denied access by church security. The protesters have decided to have a sit-out on the street. The initial plan was that they were going to sit out at the church premises till after service, but because this human barricade behind me has been set up, they've decided that they're going to sit down here until the end of service. After about an hour, the protesters state their demands.
While the investigation is being carried out, this is our second demand. Pastor Fatoyinbo must be asked to step down from any leadership role in the church to avoid partiality.
Interestingly, another set of protesters are seen gathering in the distance, bearing placards of solidarity with Pastor Fatoyinbo. After several attempts to get a reaction from the church management, a man who identified himself as the head of security for the church finally speaks to us.
The church service is going on. By the time the service is over, we were in a situation where we had these people here and the church members coming out. By that time, we don't want people to take advantage. We have seen severally since the start of this protest, people trying to take advantage of this protest. Our church has already written about the allegations, and please, the works will start tomorrow. That's it.
Now, with the reading of the statement by the protesters, they have now proceeded to talk to the church members as they are going home, asking the church members from Koza to hold their pastor accountable. And as you heard earlier from the head of security at Koza, they said that they have already released a statement into the matter and that they are looking into it, and they would be going through the legal channels to find the justice that they need for what they're calling defamation of character of their pastor. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Here in Lagos, civil rights activists and other concerned Nigerians also gathered at the Koza Church location in Ikeja, asking the pastor to step down and allow for proper investigation into alleged rape to be carried out. The protesters who carried placards with different inscriptions chanted songs of solidarity, insisting that justice must prevail.
of Koza, and we are here because people don't want to do the right thing the right way. I'm not here to instigate violence. I didn't do this with the motive or the intent to be of bitterness or the intent to pull anyone down. But we can't be in such a country that is so church saturated, but there is rot everywhere.
Number one, the letter was not signed. Number two, the letter was written with the letterhead of the church. We want him to respond as a citizen of Nigeria, as a human being, as a father. Let him respond in his person as Fatoyinbo, not as the lead pastor of Koza, because he wants to drag the church into this. The church is not affected.
Meanwhile, the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, has been reacting to the allegations of rape against a serving pastor. The association, in a statement by its spokesperson, Pastor Adebayo Oladeji, says although details available are sketchy, it has reached out to the bloc which the accused pastor belongs to with a view to getting to the root of the matter. The organization says the outcome of its interface with the bloc will assist in making the right decisions on the issue. CAN, however, condemns any case of rape, describing it as ungodly, wicked, and reprehensible. In other news, 2 persons have been confirmed dead while several others are still missing following a boat mishap that occurred at the Pakon Boat Jetty, Egbin, in the Ikorodu area of Lagos State. The boat, which is reported to have been traveling from Badore in Aja to Egbin in Ikorodu with about 21 passengers on board, allegedly capsized last night at about 11 p.m. as a result of overloading. According to the Director General of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, Dr. Femi Oke Osonyotolu, investigations revealed that the boat capsize was caused by heavy currents. 3 persons were rescued and taken to hospital, while the dead are a 40-year-old woman and a yet-to-be-identified man who were found by the agency's response team. Rescue and recovery efforts continue for the other missing passengers by LASEMA, Lagos State Waterways Agency, officials, and the Marine Police. Electricity consumers in Edo, Ondo, and Delta states should expect partial power supply over an undisclosed period of time. This is coming from the Benin Electricity Distribution Company, the BEDC. The Corporate Affairs Manager of BEDC, Mr. Tayo Adekunle, was speaking to Channels Television after a fire incident which occurred at the Transmission Company of Nigeria substation in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Mr. Adekunle explained that this caused an impartial power collapse, which has affected power distribution in many parts of the country.
As we speak, we cannot fully say the extent to what of the incident that happened on the operations of TCN vis-a-vis our own side. The good thing is that the fire has been put off, and naturally we need to give some time for assessment of the extent of damage before we can begin to now say, this is how it's going to affect supply to residents. But presently, as we speak, there's a partial system collapse all over the country, arising as a result of the fire incident, because there's interconnectivity among TCN stations all over the country. And when that fire incident happened, because of the delay in putting it out, it affected the load to other TCN stations, and that led to partial system collapse. So presently, customers in Edo State, parts of Delta, and Ondo State may be experiencing outage due to partial system collapse arising from that incident.
People living with HIV/AIDS are calling for the implementation of the HIV Anti-Discrimination Bill to fully protect the rights and dignity of people living with the condition. Some of the patients who spoke in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, lament the level of stigmatization they experience on a regular basis. In our next report, our correspondent, Imani Ode, spotlights the plight of HIV-positive individuals.
The Joint United Nations Programme on HIV and AIDS, UNAIDS, and the National Agency for the Control of AIDS estimates that there are 1.9 million people living with HIV in Nigeria, including adults and children. Apart from having about the second largest HIV epidemic in the world, Nigeria is said to also have one of the highest rates of new infection in sub-Saharan Africa. This is attributable to challenges such as ignorance, mother-to-child transmission, stigma, and discrimination. Despite the availability of free antiretroviral drugs in health centers across the country, low levels of access to treatments persist because many infected people live in fear of identifying as HIV and AIDS patients. In 2014, the HIV and AIDS Anti-Discrimination Act was signed into law by the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan to protect the rights and dignity of people living with the virus. But those affected say not much has changed. This mother of three in Cross River State has been living with HIV for over a decade ago. She says, despite her positive disposition, it has had a devastating impact on her family.
As a result of my HIV status, my husband neglected me and the children. He even left us in Calabar, traveled back to Lagos, and he was not coming.
The level of stigmatization that comes with the condition more often than not exposes victims to loneliness and depression.
The high stigma rate, a nurse will just see you, he will start asking you, how many boyfriends do you have? Just the stigma alone, in that time, people just give up to go and die.
We have fears because in 2010, we were in HIV conference in Abuja, and the theme was ownership and sustainability. And this is 9 years after. We've not seen anything being put in place.
According to this religious leader, attention should not only be focused on governments, non-governmental organizations and healthcare providers to fight against the stigmatization.
It's not right for somebody to be stigmatized because he has HIV. What of malaria? What of other diseases that a lot of people have? I don't think there is so much different from HIV. And therefore, it's not something that one should be stigmatized. The church doesn't encourage that. We preach against it.
There are reports of infected people either being relieved of their jobs or denied employment. Successfully ending HIV and AIDS is tied to implementing the anti-stigma bill and eradicating discrimination, which many victims say almost transcends their health challenges. Imani Odi, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, Channels Television's data information analyst Babajide Ogunsanwo joins us to discuss broadening ties between Nigeria and the U.S. in light of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo's recent visit to the United States. Please stay tuned.